Welcome to Pow Pow, episode 6 of Video Game Pickups. And in this edition, it's all boxed games. Yep, old school box games. From handhelds to consoles, from domestic to import. Got them all right here. But it's all Nintendo based, obviously, because, well, they're one of the only companies that had cardboard boxes for their games. But I ended up getting a whole bunch of these recently through a trade and was really excited because there is tons and tons of classics here. So I decided, hell, why not make a pickups episode out of it because, well, that's pretty awesome. So I'm going to start with the Game Boy Advance, which is all right here. So here we go. Now, the first is going to be a surprise to some if you've never seen it, and that's the import copy of Super Mario Advance. Now, this is based off of Super Mario Bros. 2, well, Super Mario Bros. 2 here in the US, but they did such a fantastic job with this game. I've never gone an import game for Game Boy Advance before, so it's kind of interesting just to even see one. Like, I've known what the boxes or anything look like, just never had one. But, you know, you don't need to know English to be able to play this, so that's one of the nice things about it. But I have played this. I've played it quite a few times. But this game, if you've never played Super Mario Brothers Advance, you know, this one right here, it's something you really should play, especially if you're a fan of Super Mario 2, just because they added in so very much to this game. It's absurd, from the power-ups to the stages to the enemies and everything. It's just a whole lot of fun. I mean, I love this game a whole lot, but it's pretty neat. If you want to see what the rest of the package looks like, that is the top of the box right there, which autofocus is not caring about it. There we go. Now it's all clear. Yay, not all fuzzy and fucking confusing looking. But yeah, I got the Game Boy Advance logo and Super Mario Bros. Advance logo and everything. The side says Game Boy Advance, and on the opposite end has the logo there. On the bottom, it's Japanese wording. I have no clue what it says. There's a bunch. But anyway. Yeah, really glad to be able to pick this up. It literally was just sitting there and I was like, heck, why not? I don't have too many import games, so add this to the collection. So yeah, Super Mario Bros. Advance. Huzzah! Awesome stuff. Now, speaking of Super Mario Bros. Advance, I have the second installment right here. It's Super Mario World. That's right. Super Mario World, which originally premiered on the SNES, the SNES, or the Super Famicom, depending on where you're at. But yeah, this game, considering that Super Mario World is one of my favorite games within the entire Super Mario franchise, it was awesome to be able to pick this up because I'd only gotten to play it back in the day. I never owned it though. So not only do I have the game, but I have it boxed and complete, which is really nice because a lot of times whenever it came to some of the old school Game Boy Advance games, you know, this was just packaging to us, so we would just take it and throw it away. Without the consideration of why not just have it complete instead of just the cartridge itself, but that didn't really come to mind whenever many of us were younger. And now, you know, when we're adults, we're like, oh my god, I wish I had it complete, and it's just like, should have kept your box. But yeah, just really great stuff. Again, it's like a beefed up version of the original with a bevy of extras and everything, just like Super Mario Bros. 2. So if you are a fan of that, you should check this one out because this one fucking rocks. Now, a classic for Game Boy Advance, and just recently, this was one of the games that was announced for the Ambassador program for the Nintendo 3DS whenever they announced Game Boy Advance games, which I was really excited because I think more people should play this game. But that is Metroid Fusion. Now, Metroid Fusion, I swear it can be considered a borderline survival horror game. Now, the reason why I say that, and here's the side of it. Get art of Samus standing there and being all badass next to the Metroid Fusion logo. But Metroid Fusion, if you got to play this game, then you understand how absolutely terrifying it is to see Samus's suit show up, ready to come after you, and just start chasing you down. You're just like, no! And you come to the realization of how overpowered Samus really is. I mean, she's the world's greatest bounty hunter for a good reason, and they kind of, you know, give you just a taste of why she's so powerful. And her suit definitely is one of those factors into that. But the thing is, with or without the suit, Samus is a badass and will absolutely, beat everything, and she does with this. But it does. There's a heightened sense of terror within this game. That's really the truth, and especially on a handheld, which in most cases, whenever you're playing a handheld, you don't feel as immersed into it. Because, I mean, it's so tiny and you're holding it in your hand, so it's like, even jump out scares and stuff won't do it to you. But this game did it, which is funny because I'm not sure if they intended for that, but they did really well. And as far as, Metroid games go, this is a classic, bar none. Just really great stuff. Please check it out. Like I said, the Ambassador program is a good enough reason to. So, yeah. Metroid Fusion, it rock sucks. But that's not all for the Super Mario Advance games. It's Super Mario Advance 4! 4! Yep, and this one is one of my all-time favorites, and that's Super Mario 3. This game I was absolutely obsessed with whenever I was younger. I could not get enough of Super Mario Brothers, but this game, and it was actually one of the first games that I truly mastered. Learned everything, every single secret, every nook and cranny. There wasn't an area that I did not ever find. So, yeah. But the Game Boy Advance version, again, is a big step up. But the neat thing is, if you are an owner of the e-reader, which, if you aren't sure what that is, see right there. That is the e-reader. Which, one thing that's pretty interesting about this is, when I said that the games are complete, they really are. That right there is one of the e-reader cards that you would scan through the e-reader itself to be able to get a power-up, and this one is still sealed and everything. And a neat thing about it is I actually have an e-reader, so I think I'll show that at the end of the video just because I had just gotten that recently. But again, if you want to play the game but, with new twists and everything, this has a lot of extras just warranting, your time, because it's a really great game. Considering the fact that not only is it a classic, the graphics are upgraded similar to how they were in Super Mario All-Stars, but this has tons of extras that Super Mario All-Stars and even the Super Mario Bros. Anniversary Edition lack. So if you want to play the game in its entirety, then this is the version that you want to check out. Now we move on to the consoles. Yes, we move on to Nintendo 64 and to a gem of a game that did not get the attention that it deserved in my opinion, and that is Jet Force Gemini by the badasses at Rare, even though they're not so badass anymore. But back in Nintendo 64's heyday, yeah, they pretty much were the shit. And you want to know how awesome they were? This is what they could put at the top of their games just to be able to sell it. And it's just like, yeah, look at us. All new interstellar adventure from Rare. It's just like, dude, you already know that it's got to be a must-have game. But yeah, this game just really great stuff. Whenever it came out, I was really excited. I had played this quite a few times at a buddy's house and really liked it a whole lot. I didn't get it until the Nintendo 64 was almost dead though, just because I had played through like half the game already at his house, so it's like, I'm not paying full price for a game that I already half beat. Sorry. So I just rented it, and yeah, that was pretty much it. But this, again, really good stuff. Rare, they did no wrong on Nintendo 64 as far as I'm concerned. They did everything right. One of the reasons why they became such a big household name and why Microsoft wanted to snag them up so bad, with things like Conker's Bad Fur Day and Banjo and Tooie and GoldenEye and everything, it's kind of hard to ignore a company who puts out that many classics, and this is one of the ones that they should have. I just don't think that it was noticed enough, but yeah, just really great stuff. If you see it, check it out. If you don't feel like buying it, check out a ROM then or something. I don't know. It's just Force Gemini, and it kicks ass. Now, this here, I really wish, again, like Jet Force Gemini, would have gotten a little more attention. Despite some of the flaws in the game, I still enjoyed it quite a bit, and that's Hybrid Heaven. Now, Hybrid Heaven, as you can see with the Konami logo there, bears an eerie resemblance to Metal Gear Solid in a lot of ways, and for good reason. But the thing is, this isn't a Metal Gear Solid clone by any stretch of the imagination. It's really not. But it does tell a fantastic story. The graphics for the time were just absolutely phenomenal. The camera was kind of iffy, but that was that was a given back in the day just because they didn't perfect cameras back then. So the camera might just get all retarded and go in any direction that it wants to. But yeah, I do. I like this game a whole lot. It is pretty hard though. I will warn you right now that the game isn't absolutely easy, and you know, you will get your ass kicked in certain parts, but that's not going to say it's not worth playing. I like a challenge, so that's why I went through and beat it anyway, despite dying quite a few times. But I liked a whole lot. It's one of the few games that Konami put out on Nintendo 64 that I could say, that game kicks tons of ass, because we had the 2 Castlevania games, and those are questionable. Very questionable. But no, seriously, Hybrid Heaven, just a really good game. If you see it, you should get it because it's pretty awesome. And look, it even has a review on the back from GamePro, which GamePro just recently went online only. So it's kind of neat to see a little ad for them on there. So yeah, Hybrid Heaven. Awesome. And lastly, for the games, I have a game that I grew up playing and liked a whole lot, and that's 1942 for the NES. You gotta love the packaging for the Capcom, the old school Capcom NES games, because like, look at it. It's got, you know, the 3D grid and everything. Like, it's really cheesy, but it's pretty funny. On the back, as you can see there, Captain Commando Challenge. Like, it's very cornballish, but Captain Commando Challenge Series, Premier Worldwide Arcade Designer, 1986. My God, that's insane to think it's that old, you know. And one thing that I do like about this, I'll show you at the top there, if you can see, state of the art. Yeah, state-of-the-art, high-resolution graphics. It's like, yes, they are. They are very state-of-the-art and high-resolution. This is high definition, folks. You know, but, I mean, it's funny just because this is 2011, almost 2012, you know, and to see something like that. So it makes me laugh quite a bit just seeing that. But this is a really good top-down shooter. So for shoot-'em-up fans, if you never got to play, you know, the 1942 series, because there's quite a few of them, they're really fun. They are. They're challenging as all hell. They don't have quite, you know, the pizzazz. I was trying to figure out a good word to use there. I should just say zazz, like Murderface does in Metalocalypse. Needs more zazz. You know, if this game just had a little more zazz, I think that it might be up to the Murderface quota of zazziness. But it doesn't. That's my Murderface impression. Hooray! But no. It is. It's still really good. Very, very challenging. I like the game a lot, and I've played all the 1942 style games. I never got to try them out in arcade, though. I would like to at some point if I could ever see one. I might just MAME it at some point. Not MAME it, but like, you know, MAME arcade emulator it. But yeah, really good stuff. It's just neat to have a Nintendo game in the box, just because you don't see this all too often, especially in this great a condition. You know, I mean, everything looks really good on it, and the game is complete. So that's another thing that's really awesome. So yeah, 1942 kicks ass. And lastly, I've got the Nintendo e-reader and a big stack of cards for it. The e-reader, if any of you are wondering, pretty much right there, it would plug in just like the games would. So it would plug in, and you would slide the cards like this. So take the card and you slide it through like a debit card or an ATM card or something like that, and it reads the information. Well, this didn't really catch on, which is unfortunate because it did have some interesting concepts, to be honest, despite the fact that it was kind of weird in a way, but it was one of those things that was so weird that it caught my attention. I'm up for anything that's different, so I was just like, e-reader, But I never got my hands on it way back in the day. I was busy playing my PS2 mostly. I was just like, sorry, I'm in the middle of Final Fantasy X, so you're just going to have to wait. So, but yeah, I got my hands on it now and have gone to try it, and everything on it does work, which is really cool. But this is what the e-reader does look like if you want to get a better look at it there. So that's what it looks like on the side. The thing is gigantic and bulky. It is quite a massive unit. It's not very heavy or anything, but this isn't something that it doesn't help for portability, because you figure, you know, especially if you had like a Game Boy Micro, that would be laughable. But you know, Game Boy Advance is like this big, so this is like taller than the Game Boy Advance pretty much. I'm pretty sure it is, but yeah, it's just big. It really is. But the cards, let me get to the cards. Now, with the cards, you could, for example, get Excitebike. The entire game Excitebike, which is an NES classic, one of the funnest racing games. Biggest reason why you play Excitebike is the track creation. Very awesome stuff. But the thing is, to be able to play the entire thing, you need to have all the cards right here. And you pretty much just slide them, it reads them and everything as one full game, and it's pretty awesome. On the back of it, it will give you little tips on it. It's kind of like an instruction manual almost, just on the cards, which I thought that was a really nice touch, just because if somebody isn't very familiar with the game, then they have these to be able to look at. So yeah, I got all the cards for it, so I have, you know, Excitebike. Now, they do have other cards here. Let me pull these out. These are power-up cards right there, and both of these are for Super Mario Bros. 3, which I'll go ahead and read off this right here. This is blue-green switch, so I guess they couldn't come up with the actual color for it. Aqua, that'd be a good name. There you go. Make vegetables sprout up in the level, then use them to attack enemies. This card can be used only in the existing game levels. Scan the card once to turn the switch on, and scan it a second time to turn the switch off! Exclamation point. So yeah, if you want to be able to get some of the vegetable power-ups that you could go and pluck from the ground in Super Mario Bros. 2 on NES, then you could do that in Super Mario 3, which is really neat. And the orange switch here. When Mario defeats an enemy using a fire attack, it turns into a coin. So pretty much these are just a couple of little extras I was talking about whenever I had mentioned Super Mario Bros. 3. You know, if you have these, scan it, and the game starts becoming extremely different, but it gets even better. Now they have these here. These are called level cards, which there's quite a few of them. These are all the level cards. Naturally, I'm not going to go through every single card. All of them do bear the cover of Super Mario Bros. 3, if you're wondering. But we'll just go with this one right here, which I'll give a close-up right there and show you, and then read this off. Level card, Classic World 1-1. See where all of Mario and Luigi's adventures began and find the first ever 1-up mushroom. Difficulty level, just 1 star. So pretty much you can scan this and get to go through the very first stage from the very first Super Mario Brothers in Super Mario Bros. 3. I mean, that's a really neat concept. To me, you know, this stuff was just, it's really interesting. You know, they got some of the harder stages, like here, this one right here has difficulty of 5 out of 5 stars, and show this one to you right here. Now, this one says, use the parabeetles as stepping stones to cross the vast sky. Now, the parabeetles, they were a cool little enemy in the game. Pretty much they'd be flying, and whenever you'd step on them, they'd slowly sink. So you'd have to, you know, jump on them, and you'd have to be pretty fluid with your steps and everything, which is pretty cool. So having an entire stage of it where it's just one big death trap is pretty awesome, and you have the occasional cloud to jump on and go, holy shit, I don't know if I can do it, but no, it is. Just the concept alone is really awesome. I would like to see a complete version of this. That's what I was hoping for within the Super Mario Brothers, you know, the Anniversary Collection on the Wii. But if they had like all this stuff here just collected into one ROM, I think that would be extremely awesome. I don't know how they would want to go about that, but just the general concept would be really neat. Now, these ones are called demo cards. Now, if you are familiar with the NES Super Guide, then this right here is kind of like the predecessor to the NES Super Guide, which I will show you right here. This kind of tells you how to do stuff in the game. So if you were just ever absolutely stumped on something, it says, watch Small Mario race through World 1-1 at breakneck speed. Can you beat the amazing time? So this will tell you how to pretty much speed run through the very first stage. Another one says, What a show! Small Mario deftly dodges a number of enemies before sneaking into a secret area to don the Tanuki suit. Haha, PETA, take that. Watch how he collects all the coins. Yeah, so this pretty much just shows you how to do a whole bunch of stuff, and there's a lot of them. A whole lot. And the neat thing about it is, you know, if you ever thought that you mastered a game and there was something on here that you didn't notice, then that'd be kind of cool in its own right. Now these are power-up cards. Power-up cards, and boy howdy is there a lot of them. So, power-up cards. These, and that's the remaining cards. See, these are all power-up cards. All power-up cards. I will go ahead and just take out my two favorite right now. And that's Hammer Brothers and the Tanuki. Yay! Now, Hammer Brothers suit, if you guys ever got to hear me talk about Mario, you've probably heard me talk about the Hammer Brothers suit. It's one of my all-time favorite power-ups just because it's so crazy. The Hammer Brothers are enemies in the game that just chuck tons of hammers. Well, you can get a suit and become like that. And also when you duck, you can avoid incoming fireballs and everything, which is pretty cool. But right here, this pretty much gives you the power-up and says, in a hammer suit, Mario can toss powerful hammers to defeat enemies. The suit is also fireproof. I just said all that, so it's completely redundant. The Tanuki suit, if you aren't familiar with it, turn Mario into Tanuki Mario. This suit gives Mario all the abilities of Raccoon Mario, plus the power to turn into a statue, which enemies will just walk right past you and everything. And that's what PETA was up the ass about, was this little pixelated Tanuki here. But, yeah, just pretty neat. You know, there's one-up mushrooms. This right here is an 8-item set, so if you want to be extra greedy, then you can get all types of stuff and be extra happy. There's a 3-suit set, bunch of stars, yeah, and this right here, which I thought was one of the coolest because it's from Super Mario World, and that is the cape. So the cape allows you to also do the gliding ability and everything, so yeah. Just very cool to be able to see stuff like this. So the e-reader, it did, despite the fact that it was a big flop for the most part, as, you know, a tacked-on add-on, it genuinely had some neat concepts. These are just some of them. You know, there's a lot of other games that add a bevy of extras. There's Game & Watch games and everything. And there's a ton of stuff. There's quite a few of the e-reader cards out there floating around. This is my very first time having any of them, but I got a decent amount of them, and games that work with them, so it's kind of cool. So if you're a fan of Game Boy Advance, want to get some extra life out of it, the e-reader might help a little bit, and it's also really cheap. Truly, just looking up the stuff, it doesn't cost much, but then again, it's kind of understandable why it's not high in demand. So yeah, the e-reader, the cards, very, very kick-ass stuff. I can, at the very least, recommend it. You know, it's not an absolute must-have above and beyond everything else on somebody's list, but it is noteworthy enough to be able to add as an addition to your game collection, especially if you want to breathe new life into something. So, there you have it, folks. This is episode 6 of Video Game Pickups. So I hope that you enjoyed all the box games and e-reader and everything. I enjoy being able to share this with you and telling everybody about stuff. So as always, nerds, nerdettes, and gamers, game the fuck on.